All
All
right, we
right,
are
all right.
live. Great day, everybody. Welcome back to another incredible episode of the Jim Gale Show. You have Matthew Britt here coming at you from Ontario, Canada. Extremely excited to be here, as always, with my good friend and partner, Mr. Jim Gale. Great to see you, buddy.
You too, brother. Man, it's good to see you. And I just want to say, Matthew, thanks for everything that you do all day long.
Thanks,
You've
man.
just been such a godsend for our company and our movement. And so I just want to say thank you for everything, brother.
Hey, man, thank you so much for saying that. I'm honored to be your teammate and friend and partner and for finding you. I heard you on a couple shows, and that was actually Cody Smith heard you first and shared with me. And then when I heard you, I was like, I got to talk to this guy and find a way to collaborate. And as you know, my first intention was to try to find a way to unify the business that I was with at that time with Food Forest Abundance, but that didn't work out. So put me in a spot where I had to choose what direction am I going to go, and you were the logical choice. What you were doing with Food Forest Abundance and the big picture mission, very aligned with my heart, and I just felt I was home. That I finally had found that place with the big enough mission and purpose and big enough impact focus that I could bet my life on it. And
Yeah.
having young children now, it really made it that much more important to have something that I knew could make the world a better place for them,
Yeah.
and that it could also positively impact the lives of literally billions of people by doing something that was logical.
Yeah.
And so,
Super logical, right?
yeah. So
Uh,
thank you. Right back at you, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for saying that this morning.
awesome.
And now that we're all gushy, we got a great guest to welcome to the show. And this is actually, he was introduced to us through Jean-Luc and Chelsea, and, fellow living in Nicaragua, Jonathan Gillis. Nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, glad to be here. Yeah. Jonathan Giles. Jonathan Gillis sounds good though. I think I might go with that. That's pretty.
How do I say it?
Giles.
Giles with a G,
Jonathan
like
Giles.
geography or whatever. Yeah, yeah. I don't care. I like nicknames. So I like to tell people they say, "What's your name?" Oh, well, my name is Fruit Tree. And then we can just get right into how fruit trees are here to save the world, and I think nicknames are great. So yeah, more the better.
Jonathan
I
Fruit
love
Tree
it.
Giles.
So, what part of Nicaragua are you in?
So I get over to San Juan near the beach, and it's nice to get a little salt water. But I spend most of my time here on Ometepe, which is this double volcano island in a huge freshwater lake. So we got a lot of water, and yeah, we got these mountains that create a lot of microclimates. And what's neat about here is when I first got here about 6 years ago, I was introduced to kind of permaculture done well, and seeing these systems of abundance that are just beautiful, and they taste great, and they just feel good, is really made it all click for me. Up to that point, I was already into of the mind. It's really important that we do more organic gardening, and I used to want to kind of really help the world through healthcare.
Yeah.
And you know, being part of the healthcare system a little bit, it's like, wow, what a bureaucratic mess! What a bunch of just unbelievable how things can get turned sideways. But realizing from there, just that, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. When we get growing clean food, we're really doing more good than most doctors are getting to do, because of the way the systems are set up. So coming here and finding that out here, there's a lot of people doing it well, and yeah, it's inspirational. So glad to be here.
I lived in San Juan del Sur for a while and had property there. And Ometepe is the one place that I haven't been, but I can't wait to go. Is it true that that's like the 8th or 9th largest lake in the world?
It's huge. It's 4 times bigger than Lake Okeechobee. I'm also have roots in South Florida, so yeah, that gives you an idea. It's massive. Yeah.
Are there really freshwater sharks in that lake?
There used to be a ton of them. Nowadays, there's not. But yeah, it's so I guess up the San Juan River, all the way from the Caribbean side, which we're closer to the Pacific. But from the Caribbean side, the bull shark is the one shark that can swim up a freshwater lake. It can modulate the salt. So yeah, there used to be a ton of them, but now I was just speaking to a friend recently. He was saying he's seen a couple, but I don't know. It's kind of maybe hearsay now because I guess back in the 50s, the Japanese came and harvested a lot of them. So they're
Man.
they're not a threat anymore. But yeah, just kind of adds to the magic of you thinking about the history of this place. There's a ton of artifacts here from the Aztec and the Mayans. So it's like, yeah.
I know that the originally the canal, which is now in Panama, was supposed to go through that the lake there.
Thank God it didn't. Yeah,
exactly, and it was all politics, right? That ended up moving it to Panama.
Yeah, it's and they've been talking about doing it to have an alternative to the one in Panama because that's kind of they have the taxes and their levies in place. So China wants to do one through here, and they had permission and they bought the land or something, but it didn't end up going through. And yeah, just thank God that that brings me back to the idea of like having the food forest locally. Growing life's necessities where you're at. That's really it solves the problem of like not needing to destroy areas to make shipping lanes and to create destruction of forests to create timber. It's like we can grow this stuff where we're at. We can grow our medicine, our fuel, our food, and our building materials right where we are. So it's just silly. I think the number one the number one source of carbon emissions is big agriculture, but it's the transport of it. So when we're creating it locally, not that I think carbon emissions are our biggest problem, but for people who are of that mind, it's
I'm glad you said that because there's a lot of books out, a lot of data out that says, like the one is called the Fossil Future, and it just shreds the narrative that carbon is our enemy. But at the same time, when we can solve that problem by growing food locally, then we can even reach the people who do believe in that narrative.
Right.
Permaculture, locally growing poison-free food, is the solution to all of the narratives.
It really is. It's crazy to think, the World Economic Forum these days, they've got this idea. They want to put us in 15-minute cities, and they want people eating insect flour now. They want people eating bugs. But then they, on the same side, this whole consumer narrative will try to like deceive us and tell us that like working with our hands in the garden is beneath us. Like you don't want to feed the bunnies. You don't want to water the flowers. Go sit in a cubicle and eat your cricket flour. It's just, I don't know how people don't all see through it, but
thankfully we've just opened the largest cricket manufacturing plant in Canada.
Insane. It's insane. Part of that protein isn't digestible to humans, so it's like it's just madness, really. It's
yeah, and there's a half truth to just about everything, right?
Right.
I lived in Africa with the Maasai, and I mean the grubs were fantastic. And there's a lot of things that are good, but it's this idea that we're forced and coerced and manipulated to do particular things. The one thing I know that's worse than all of it is glyphosate and poison. Right?
Yes. I was just reading. I know a lot about glyphosate, but I didn't realize they're using so much of it now to grow timber. So they're spraying it on these huge forests to take out the shrubs and to take out the ground cover. And it's just madness. It's like this stuff is so pervasive that it gets into the whole water cycle, and the Eskimos, the Inuit up in the Arctic, are getting it coming down through the rain, getting into the blubber of the sea mammals they're eating. So it's this is a problem that's just insane. And I'm glad you brought up the glyphosate. It's I like to call it like an $11 billion poison. And it's much more toxic than that. But I think the 11 billion number, that's a good idea of the toxicity that it's damaging our health with, maybe on a yearly basis. Yeah. So, Monsanto has agreed to pay, they're happy to pay $11 billion to just U.S. farmers just for like 2 types of cancer. And, it's just insanity. Like they're allowed to keep selling it year after year. This stuff is even in organic products. It's in a lot of organic products we find, and just a little bit of it. There's so many studies that show how toxic it is, but just a little bit of it can really like be harmful for people, especially for kids who don't have the kidneys and the liver to filter it out. And we're seeing the increase of it since the mid 90s. It's like 99% correlated with dozens of terrible diseases getting out of control. And we're talking all sorts of like really rough conditions, from autism to Alzheimer's, dementia, cancers, autoimmune diseases. And, people think that they're gluten intolerant. I think, really they're glyphosate intolerant.
Yes.
I feel the same way when I eat the bread in the States, but when I go to Europe, I can eat the bread. I feel great. So it's a real difference there. And yeah, it's just wild. They're using it so much. It's 3 pounds per person in America is how much glyphosate they're using now.
Holy shit. 3 pounds per person is how much they're using.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know how much each of us would consume, roughly?
Unbeknownst to us? That's a great question, but
yeah, that's a hard one.
It's a great question, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 5% of that, and it's like, yeah, I mean, this stuff is just it's toxic, man.
11 billion. Let's break down, if that same amount of stored energy, $11 billion of fiat, which is going down in value like crazy compared to food, if that energy was used for good, that could be 11,000 $1 million food forest installations around the world.
Right.
With fewer than 10,000 cities in the world, that would be a food forest demonstration site in every city in the world, which of course would change the supply chain, and it would create an infinite amount of seeds and plants and life and nature and love to change the world.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. They're invested in all these crazy things there.
So
what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what's going on. This imperial system that goes back to the Dutch India Company is this corporatism that has bought our governments. And, they talk about all the billions spent on marketing. That's all to tell us to be consumers instead of producers. And that's really where we can make the change. We can quit being a part and complicit in so much destruction, and we can be a part of creation. This is, from the first page of the good book, it's like we can return to that. We can be fruitful. We can tend the garden and keep it. We can, watch what we eat, and we can restore paradise. The whole world should just be beautiful gardens of abundance. There's no reason not to. So
there's no reason not to, and a bunch of reasons too. In fact, it's the difference between life and death of everything.
Yep, that's right. It's wild. So.
And more like thriving, not just life. It would bring us to a thriving place, right? Because most of us in the West today, because of the amount of consumerism, poisons in our food, poisons in our air, every skin product we put on, our shampoos, etc., we've got fatigue, chronic fatigue, right? And chronic dis-ease and chronic inflammation and chronic name your thing. Because of all of that, we're not functioning optimally, which is preventing us from actually living a thriving, abundant life, right? We could have people extremely mobile and thriving into their hundreds, but instead, people now, you hear them at 45 years old going, I'm getting old. At 50,
that's right.
Getting old, and they're feeling pains in their joints and their headache and they're swollen and all this stuff. And it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be that way. It's just so much fun to go play in the garden. You get to plant these fruit trees, and it's not just that it's providing food purity. It's not just that it's providing food security. It's not just that it's providing sovereignty. But this is a way of life that is just in our blood. So now we're getting exercise, we're getting fresh air, we're getting sunshine. We're maximally alive and healthy and strong. And we we're free. We're independent from that system. So this is it's like, what's more important than our health? Are you going to really feel good without feeling good? So, and
Yeah.
it's not just our health, but it's our community, it's our families. So we can bring it all together. And, I think, we can all agree, like, the ultimate way of life as an ethos to embody is love.
Yes.
And this is the best way for us to love ourselves, love our world, love our communities. And it's a legacy. This is something that we get to leave behind when we're making perennial gardens, hundreds of years from now. They can be there and wow, it's like, wow, who planted these huge mango trees? That's what it's like here on Ometepe. Going to the beach just yesterday, I'm looking at these massive mango trees. Like, the local guy saying they were planted a couple hundred years ago. And
Wow.
you think about the legacy of year after year, thousands of mangoes come down from that tree and feed us and feed the ecology and spread around. And that's the kind of legacy that we get to be a part of when we're planting paradise.
And it's
What a
exponential,
beautiful,
because it's not
that's
only is
right.
it thousands of mangoes, but it's thousands of mango seeds. Like,
Yep, that's
that
right.
blows my mind.
Exactly.
Huh.
The word
Wow.
continues.
So what got you
30-fold,
passionate?
60-fold, 100-fold. It's what got me passionate. I tell you, I really, like, I was going back to the healthcare ideas. I was doing software for a long time. I was kind of burnt out on it. Wanted to do something that's really meaningful, something that's really can feel good about at the end of the day. So started getting into healthcare, and then started to see, like, wow, as a paramedic, you're just actually just breaking your back, dragging people out of their homes when they're having heart disease and they're like way overweight. And it's like really like helping the people not have these health issues. That's where you're really helping them. So, you know, and so we get to help people in that way. And then we also get to spend our time in beautiful gardens. We get to be outside and be with the birds and the bees and the flowers and the bunnies. It's just, it really is the divine design. And to embrace that, to embody that, and to feel the difference of, like, getting fresh air every day and getting your hands in the soil. They say if you get your hands in the soil that you live 10 years longer. They say the vitamin B from the soil is just absorbed right into your hands. So yeah, it's just the more I see, like, being in this way of life, the more boxes it clicks. It just on and on. For droughts and for flooding. When you're planting these trees, you're really creating a microclimate, and you're creating kind of a resilience in the local ecology to withstand droughts. They say the trees actually produce the rain in a way that the evaporation is happening, and now the rain comes back down to the trees. And when you have these floods, when you have everything there, these trees can really absorb all that water. It's an amazing thing. Talking about wood chips as one kind of component to a good permaculture system, it's amazing what wood chips can do as far as both retaining the hydration for not letting the plants dry out, but also, if you get a ton of rainwater and you got a lot of wood chips there, you're not going to get all this runoff. It's going to absorb that water like a sponge. So you get the kind of the perfect balance of what you need, whether it's dry or whether it's raining too much. And it's just, what an amazing system to get to be a part of and to get to help, tune in and dial in. It's people are perfect for it. That's one thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have a green thumb." It's like, well, it's trial and error, and that's part of the fun of it. Is the challenge of getting in there and doing it. Not everything might work right away, but arguably it's never been easier. We have the information age now, so you can go on YouTube from your phone and learn more about, like, a specific thing about growing tomatoes that you might be trying to grow. Within 5 minutes, you're going to know more than 99% of people know about growing that kind of tomato. And you just go from 0 to 100 in seconds. So yeah, I just encourage people, like, no matter where we're at, we can really embody this. Even from somebody who's, like, stuck inside all day and maybe they got kids they're raising and they can't really get out, or they're in an apartment. Well, you can put herbs in your windows. You can grow microgreens in a closet. There's some families doing that, and they're making six figures growing microgreens in like a little, just kindly square footage in their house, selling it to the high end restaurants. And there's so many different ways to support this cause of local regenerative agriculture. Even somebody who is in hospice and like on their resting bed, they could ask the nurses and ask the people coming to visit them, bring me some houseplants, put that in here. And now what is that going to do? Now those are purifying the air. That's making the air better for everybody who comes in there. That's putting the lamp on a lampstand for everybody to see, like, oh, that's what's important. That's a conversation starter. It's amazing how plants help us in so many ways. When a plant's inside like that, every bit of light that comes in that it's breathing, it's a perfect symbiosis the way the plants breathe with us. They take in the very carbon dioxide that we exhale, and they give us oxygen that we need to inhale, and they get energy out of that. And then we take that exact reverse equation, and we get energy from that. So the symbiosis of that is just amazing. And it's just wild to think that the energy from the sun, the light, is actually going into that plant, and that energy is getting put into the oxygen we're breathing. We're literally breathing the energy of the light when we're in that symbiosis with these plants. It's such a beautiful thing to get to be part of and help to.
It sure is.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about not having a green thumb. I've never grown a plant in my life, of course, because we don't actually grow plants. We just give them a home. And that's where the permaculture design process is so valuable, right? When people see the whole house, how to layer the soil and the mulch, and then how to put guilds together. And then all of a sudden you could walk away for 30 years and you come back 30 years later, and some of the plants will be out competed, but the rest of the plants will be just massive.
Right. Yep. Exactly. You let them thrive, and you see what happens. And yeah, you might be surprised by the way it goes, but yeah, I love it. There's really not a lot of maintenance that you need to do. You can come in and prune, you can come in and fertilize, but if you don't, things are going to survive and things are going to be there, and you're going to be able to come and you're going to be able to take cuttings and get a yield and like you said, make it exponential, spread it around and keep it going. So it's a beautiful thing. Like it really does click all the boxes, right? So, okay, you're helping purify the air, you're helping purify the water, you're helping create clean food. And then the economics of it, you're helping people kind of create economy and local jobs. I think that, this is what's missing from some of these big top-down plans coming from these governments is like, well, what about, we saw during COVID that there were food shortages, and COVID, was nothing compared to what challenges we'll face in the future. And, that it just showed how fragile our supply chains are. Mm-hmm. So this is food resilience. This is, something that we know. It's easy to take everything for granted when things are going good. Oh, maybe famines were a thing of the past. Well, famines weren't a thing of the past. We're seeing famines around the world today, and this is something that we can, invest in local food production everywhere, and it's solving the world's biggest problems.
Yeah.
And you'd think that these good people in these organizations like the UN that are claiming to really want to be helping, that this is a simple solution that they would be promoting heavily. But every time I go and read things about them, that's not the solution they put forward. They talk about the inequality. They talk about the shortages in certain places and the suffering, and we got to care for people and we need all this stuff. Yet it always flows back to those centralized control mechanisms and their big friends in big ag and big corporate chemical companies that are the ones that will have the solution, right? If you even go to like the WEF website and you look at all of their partners, none of those people are talking about doing this thing at the local level and teaching the man how to fish and then teaching the man how to teach a man how to fish. That's not what they employ. They always drive it back to the centralized control mechanism, which to us, we know that there's a reason for that. But to the general population, they should be scratching their heads too, going, well, you're incongruent in your messaging. This centralized
Absolutely.
system has got us to one place, and we see the problems with it. So why isn't it now that you're talking about this in a different way to empower us instead of control? And we know why.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's bonkers. You know, they own the media, so their narrative is just so pervasive. And gosh, you know, you go back to the Cold War. They used to talk about the danger of, like, everybody was afraid of the communist propaganda seeping in, and it's like, well, this consumer mindset, this scarcity propaganda is just, you know, it's so pervasive. And yeah, you know, we shouldn't be surprised that the people in charge want to enlarge their control and kind of do that, should we?
That's how it
But
goes.
I love that quote, that Bill Mollison quote. The solutions are embarrassingly simple. You know, we just save the seeds and share them. You know, 8-year olds can save the world. You know, you can take the seeds, you can recycle, like, bags and cans and bottles, and create little, you know, planting containers, and just use the dirt that's there, and just water the plants, and wow, now you got a food forest nursery going. You get these trees in the ground, and you're creating an abundance that can last, you know, centuries. So it's such a beautiful thing we get to do.
It's
It's really
amazing.
I'll
wild.
give you another example of the craziness. So we live in a little township where they have recycling and garbage facilities. You have to bring your stuff there. And as I'm recycling my plastics, I'm being told by the people that are the attendants which ones can go into the recycling and which plastics cannot go in the recycling. So I started asking the guy, why is this happening? Why isn't all of the plastic that looks the same able to be recycled? Well, turns out that Coke, Pepsi, the big brands, they helped fund the setup of these recycling plants. Okay. And they told all the recycling plants that you can only recycle our stuff, our plastics, not the other plastics.
Wow.
So as much,
Wow.
again, it's an example of we're doing good, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't all get to do good. Only we get
Right.
to do good, and the other stuff gets to go in the landfill, anyways. And it's just another example of how big business through lobbying has been effective at destroying really the fairness for everybody and giving us the ability to really reach our true capacity of potential.
Yeah, that is absolutely wild. I hadn't heard that story. I have heard that Coca-Cola, you know, when people push back and say, "Hey, can we quit doing so much plastic pollution?" that they're not really willing to hear it. They're not, you know, because they used to do glass, and there's other solutions, but they're not willing to even at least even give it lip service,
No,
which
they're
is just
evil. They're
no, yeah.
controlled by BlackRock. BlackRock and the computer Aladdin are the controllers of the whole thing. And then the name BlackRock is the intention, not just the name. And by their
Mm,
deeds we shall know them. They are destroying our world, and they're turning the whole world black unless we do exactly what you suggested. Local, poison-free, regenerative agriculture.
yeah, it's the solutions are embarrassingly simple. Just tend the garden and be fruitful. That's just
Yeah. And they're
what a
joyfully
privilege.
simple as well.
They are. Feed the bunnies, water the flowers, save the world. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. Right. I was watching a clip. Somebody sent a clip of Neil Cavuto had this gal on who's like the top gal at some organization, some three letter organization. And she told people to do. She told people that were suffering because of the food prices going up to work more and to go buy food at the dollar store. She actually said go buy food at the dollar store. Now, we all know the dollar store has poisonous food. It was
Right.
just, I couldn't believe that. Instead of just saying, go plant a garden.
Right. You know, so that reminds me of another thing. So we're talking about the different toxins. One of them are these endocrine disruptors, and there's a lot of different ones of those. And now, you've got fertility rates cratering. So you see like a really high correlation between the amount of phthalates that people are getting from they're in the soft plastics,
Yep.
for one, and a lot of other places as well. But these phthalates, I think men's sperm is down by 70% since the 70s. And, men are less masculine. It's affecting the whole endocrine system from, masculinity, and women, their estrogen levels are out of whack, and, their fertility rates are suffering as well. And yeah, so we have this problem now where, our natural maturation is getting all out of whack. And instead of studying that, and instead of addressing that, what's the corporate narrative? It's like, hey, an obsession with trans people, but in a different way. It's just unbelievable how they want to twist everything, and just, oh gosh, I don't know. It's getting to be a crazy world. But yeah, these endocrine disruptors, they come from this shipping of these plastics all over the world. So that's another way that when we're doing the local food production, now we're not using all of these plastics. We're not using all these chemicals. This big train spill that recently happened in Ohio, this was a vinyl chloride that for some reason they lit up into the air, which is going to affect, they say maybe 30 million people. It's going to be in our wheat next year. It's going to get all over there. That's where, we're growing a lot of our food. And this is just another example of this toxicity that's affecting us. In the States, we allow 100 chemicals that are banned in Europe. And we see the effects of that in the longevity going down about 3 years over the last 20 years. So Americans are living 3 years less than their Western European counterparts. And they were like tracking evenly up until that. So this toxicity is just unbelievable. And, one thing about the COVID response that I actually agreed with, and there wasn't much at all, was the idea that, we should be concerned with the health of the community. Like, yeah, if wearing a mask is going to save everybody, let's do that. Of course, we found out later the masks are actually not working at all, and they're putting plastic in our lungs. But yeah, let's make some changes to, what's more important than the health of us and our loved ones. It's, and when we're growing the food locally, when we're growing our materials locally, we're making a huge step in that direction. We're really countering this necessity or this system that's, it's destructive, it's toxic, and it's exploitive. It's where you see these sweatshops and where you see these things, it's like, you wouldn't go and like buy something from a sweatshop next door. I don't think anybody in the world would. They wouldn't want to support that. But when they externalize that on the other side of the world, and they say, no, it's okay, no, it's not so bad, and then you say, okay, I believe you, and then we're complicit in that exploitation. So we get to be independent from that. We get to step out of that entire system, and we get to do things just in a beautiful, loving way locally. That's just, it's unbelievable how many ways you win when you're doing this.
Yep.
You talk about the endocrine disruptors, and one of the major ones is the flame retardants, which are put on everything, right? Kids' clothes, to their mattresses, to your car, to your furniture, and on and on. So we're surrounded by these flame retardants, and bromine is a big one that they utilize. And it is a massive endocrine disruptor, both for men and women. And back in like 2004, 2005, I watched a documentary by Nova. I don't know if either of you remember the TV show Nova. Yeah. It was called The Disappearing Male. And it was all about the decline of sperm count, testosterone, all those things. And that was early 2000s. Where are we now? How many more chemicals have been approved and are utilized and are around us every single day? And then now that we've realized that, what are we doing to change it? The answer is nothing. They're still continuing. The FDA still approves it, right? There's all these organizations that are well aware, they still let it all go through. But it's no wonder we have so many fucking confused people, confused children that are now being encouraged by the medical system to switch their identity. And doctors are going, yeah, this makes sense. Let's put you on these hormone blockers.
It makes money.
No, it makes money. Yeah. No, that's, I know.
Money.
Yes, it makes the money. Huge amounts of money.
Wicked.
It is absolutely wicked. And you just look at how this systematic destruction is happening from the inside out. If we are making masculine men feel like feminine women, they're not going to stand up to tyrants in the same way, right? You're
That's
not
right.
going
That's
to
right.
have the man and woman family relationship be as strong anymore because you have confused people. It's destroying us from the inside out. And these
It's
chemicals are in everything.
it's crazy. Yeah, I was reading about how they're like especially prevalent in these fast food products. So you go to these different chains that we're also familiar with, and they're finding like a ton of these phthalates in the food. In the food, it's like, what's more important than the health of us and our loved ones? It just comes back to that for me. It's like,
Yeah.
when I've been lucky to travel a bit, and when I was in Italy and when I was in Greece, I feel like these cultures put so much love and so much care into making the next meal great. And you could just stop off for street food, and for $1, you're getting like the best like spinach pastry you've ever had. And I say, wow, these cultures got it figured out. Like, yeah, like what you come away from your meal just feeling great. Like let's take on the day. And when I eat food for the most part in the States, I feel the opposite. I feel like, oh,
Yeah.
what did I just do? Like I feel like I made a mistake and I need a nap. It's just
Yep.
unbelievable how they've twisted things.
That's so
Yeah.
true. So tell us about you. You're an author, right? You've got a book out?
I do. I got a book published. My brother's got 4 young kids, and they are they're great. We get in the garden when I go and visit, and I was mentioning how an 8-year-old can save the world because they can make a little food forest nursery and get all these trees started. And so kind of wrote a book for them, and it's called When We Plant Paradise. And yeah, it's pretty much just these big ideas. It's even a kid can understand it. So I got it open here if I could share it with you.
Yeah.
So it starts out, when we plant paradise, we create delicious food that makes everyone happy. When we plant paradise, we work together and friends become family. When we plant paradise, we create abundance so there can always be enough. When we plant paradise, we create food that has more vitamins to help keep us strong and healthy. When we plant paradise, we create medicine so we can heal ourselves. When we plant paradise, we help prevent floods so we don't get washed away. When we plant paradise, we help prevent droughts so we don't get too hot and thirsty. When we plant paradise, we heal the air and we all breathe better. When we plant paradise, we give animals a place to live and we get to see them play. When we plant paradise, there are more flowers and the bees can make more honey. When we plant paradise, we create firewood for fuel we can use to stay warm and roast marshmallows. When we plant paradise, we create building materials so we can build new homes. When we plant paradise, we help create beauty everywhere and we all feel better. Let's plant paradise everywhere. And yeah, my favorite one
Love
there is
it.
thank you. My favorite one there is when it says, when we plant paradise, we create building materials so we can build new homes. And then it's got a picture of a couple dogs in a doghouse looking cute. So
I love
it's nice.
it.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I
Yeah.
love everything about that.
This is the amazing thing. It's like, it really ticks all the boxes. So, like I'm saying, 8-year-old kid, they can water the plants. They can put the plant. They can get the dirt out. They can plant the plants. It's simple. It's fun. It's the best exercise for you. You're getting your sunshine. You're getting your fresh air. And wow, and like you're saying, like wow, these plants. Every blade of grass and every leaf is turning light into air we breathe and making the air better for us, helping the pollinators. And helping moderate the temperatures, right? So if it gets hot where you are, this is going to help keep it cool. If it gets cold where you are, this is going to help keep it warm. It really ticks all the boxes. So
It so does. Like where we are now, it started with just sand, and that was a year ago, and now there's food forest coming up everywhere. And when you walk from the sand into the food forest, even if you're still in the direct sunlight, there's a temperature difference of at least 5 degrees because of the transpiration of plants, right? The plants are creating a humid environment that makes it cooler.
I love it. Yeah, it's so beautiful to see all the animals come, and gosh, just what a, I don't know. Yeah, we get to restore creation to its glory. And you think about, there's so many aspects to it. You could do it in a way where you're fumbling around and don't really know what you're doing, and it'll still turn out, there'll still be aspects of it that look great. But then as you learn like what worked well and what didn't, you can get it dialed in and get it going better and better. And yeah, I love having a part in that design of thinking about, okay, we can have our walkways here, and we're gonna have this for, where we're gonna have our meeting areas, and getting to put that together in a way that's beautiful. I always enjoy doing that for every property, whether I'm on a balcony in an apartment or on a big acreage. It's something that's really fun to do. And I think people say they don't have a green thumb, and and maybe they haven't found a joy in it yet. It's like, well, just give it time, because it's amazing. You start doing it. I feel like the more I do it, the more I love it. It's just something where you just fall in love with it. So
yeah,
it really
the
is
food forest is an energetic draw. People think farming is a time liability. Food forestry is a time asset. It actually gives you time. It's so freaking awesome. Man, Jonathan, I really appreciate you, and we'd love to collaborate with you there on Omna Tepe. Would sure love to collaborate however you'd like there to help bring
Yeah,
more
absolutely. So there's a link to my TikTok. So friends and I were starting this idea, a little, it's called the Plant Paradise Challenge. So people can go on there, and they can create a video and tag us in it. And we're doing kind of like a weekly cash prize for whoever gets the best video, to try to just kind of encourage people discussing and talking about, spreading the word about this. That's what this is all about. Because as much as I love doing this and you love doing this, this is something where we need to kind of scale the movement and get more people into it. So helping get the word out there is something cool. And yeah,
poison
is bad
for you. I've got some good news. So we launched 22 months ago. We are now serving people in 45 countries and 49 U.S. states.
Wow. Can you imagine? That's beautiful.
Exponential.
Yeah. The only one where we're not helping people yet is Delaware. Go figure.
So if anybody knows anybody in Delaware that wants to be free, have them get a hold of us at Food Forest Abundance. We'd like to give you a paradise landscape.
We had someone ask a question, and I told them we could give them an answer. So it comes from Nathan Hartwig. He recently completed his PDC, and he currently has 2 cherry trees, 2 apricot trees, 2 hazelnuts, and a mulberry that will all be receiving them soon. These 5 trees are bare root at about 4 feet tall. Would I be better off getting established trees, or go with the bare root to better establish my soil?
Well, you're going to want to establish your soil either way, Nathan. So, I mean, take the trees that you have and then get more, and then layer the soil. Dig a really nice hole, load it up with good soil. Talk to your local nursery people, and then add compost tea, add some worm castings, and then add the beneficial plants, add the nitrogen fixers and the beneficial flowers around there. So you've got a guild. What do you think, Jonathan?
I love that. Yeah. And, I was talking about wood chips a little earlier, creating a little mulch, whether that's a ground cover, and that can be a living mulch, or whether you put down a lot of wood chips or pine needles, that helps in so many ways, right? So that helps keep the soil cooler from getting too hot. So you got more ecology on there. You're helping the soil that way. You're preventing weeds from coming up, and you're also you keeping more hydration in there. It's not getting evaporated so quickly. And every time it kind of rains, and as that kind of organic matter breaks down, it's kind of a natural compost tea. So that's a cool thing as well. So.
Yep.
And one more idea is my favorite kind of permaculture principle when I'm like looking at an area and where to plant things is I like to think about planting things around the outside and leaving the open spaces open. And then that way you can kind of work with the microclimates that are there. You can kind of start to create privacy from the neighbors. You can start to create a windbreak. And this way you kind of have more flexibility for later in your open areas doing what you might. So
I love it.
Jonathan, do you still have your, I know you developed a food forest nursery in Florida at one point. Do you still have that today?
Yes, I was just visiting there. I was just in Florida for 3 months and I was helping out there. Yeah, my buddy Matt is down there and he's offering installs down there for people. And I think thinking about getting hooked up with you guys to kind of create a little headquarters that you guys offer. So that's a really neat kind of thing that you guys are doing as well. I'm interested in looking into that more. It's
yes.
Because that model that you guys are building all over, that's like what I found here in Ometepe like 6 years ago. Like to me, like that exact thing is really what helps like make it all click for people. That's what helped make it click for me is, and I think that there should be 12 of those in every city. Every town should have a bunch of those where people can go a little oasis of peace. Like come and see like how beautiful this is. Come and see how beautiful this feels, how great this tastes. And showing them that model, I think that's beautiful. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like these commemorative gardens or like these beautiful, when I was in British Columbia last, we went through this Asian gardens, they call it, and just massive, beautiful location, but it didn't produce any food, nothing. Everything was ornamental. And I've been to many of them in different parts of the world, and none of them produce food.
Isn't it wild? See, the funny thing about that is they're ornamental, right? So they look good. But the funny thing to me is that just about every plant looks good. They all flower. They're all producing, air for us to breathe. So why not use some ones that have a use, that have that give you abundance locally, so we don't need to be, consuming so much. So yeah, it's
like the
it blows
Palace
my
of
mind.
Versailles. You ever been there in France, outside Paris? That massive palace of King Louis. Yeah. Again, massive grounds, beautiful garden, fountains everywhere. No food being produced on site.
Insanity. Yeah,
that's what it goes back to. It is like kind of this ethos of like a king who doesn't need to have anything because it's all provided for. And it's like, well, come on,
provided guys, for. Yeah, it's all stolen from the people.
It's right. It's all right. Yeah. So it's like, hey guys, let's be realistic here. We all got to eat. So let's have some of that around us. And if nothing else, like how interesting is it that just about everyone has insurance or something. And this is kind of like, this is an insurance policy against a famine that will come, one day, whether in the next, couple years or the next couple decades,
it's happening now.
It is happening. It is happening.
I talk to people all over the world. Lebanon, Sri Lanka, they're in famine as we speak. Brazil, Venezuela, it's happening now, my friends. So everybody listening, Jonathan is nailing it. It's time to go out and plant seeds.
Yeah,
it is. It absolutely is. It absolutely.
What an interesting concept, insurance and planting food. Like, I wonder if there's something there. People paying a little bit of money in to hedge their bets, where paying that little bit of money gets them plants growing on their property. I don't know. Interesting thought.
You guys, I got to fly. I've got people waiting for me. Love you, Jonathan. I really am looking forward to collaborating with you. And Matthew, thank you as always. And let's chat again soon. But let's start growing food, everybody. It's time.
Yes.
Thanks, Jim.
Yes. Let's do it. Likewise. Same to you, Jim.
Ciao.
Thanks, Jonathan. Great. Thanks for joining us today on the show. It was really great to chat with you. And let's keep the conversation going offline around getting, exploring a partnership, doing some
absolutely.
You guys have going on in Florida. We are designing and installing lots of food forests there, as well as you heard Jim say, we're into 40 some countries now, over 700 designs. As far as opportunities. In the past 3 months, we've had over 1,000 people now come to us asking to meet with a permaculture designer for a 30-minute strategy session.
That's beautiful.
And we see a pathway to be able to scale that to where, we're talking to 1,000 people every month.
That's great. That's what
10,000
it's all
people around
about.
the world every month. As we continue to scale that up, people
Yep.
are looking for solutions to these food issues.
Mm-hmm.
The blinders are being pulled off. They're realizing that these large corporate entities, that they have a fiduciary responsibility. Okay. So we can't say they're all bad people. That's not it. But they're in a system that's rigged against them, where their corporate fiduciary responsibility is to profit. It's not to you or me. It's not to the end user. It's to the shareholders.
Right.
And if they don't produce profit, they can go to jail.
Yep.
Right?
That's wild, isn't it? That's
So
wild. Right.
it's
Right.
rigged.
It is rigged.
So good
it
people
really
can't do the good things they want to do the way they talk about it, because of that card being stacked against them.
it flies. That concept you just described, it flies in the very face of ethics, doesn't it? Because the idea that we should do what's right, it should be a guiding principle. This idea that no, we should maximize shareholder value at these other expenses. It's wild. I think that another part of this World Economic Forum that they're doing, they talk about the stakeholder economy, right? So they're talking about how they want to have it in a way where they're acting on behalf of everyone, but really what they're really trying to do is they're trying to codify the idea that they own the government.
Yep.
They, through the back door, through lobbying and bribing, they write the laws currently, but they want to codify that, and they want to say, listen, the corporations literally run the world. And it's like you say, well, I've heard it described as that very idea of maximize shareholder value at all other expenses. That right there, if a person operated on those principles, you would call that person a sociopath.
Yeah.
So that's what these corporations are doing. And
you ever watch the documentary called The Corporation?
I haven't seen that one. I think I've heard of it though. Yeah.
So there's a documentary called The Corporation, and then there's one called The New Corporation. And as they go through the first one, they use what the American Psychiatric Society or whatever does to grade people, and they grade the corporation. A corporation is a psychopath. That's how they land on it. At the end of all that, the corporation is a psychopath. And then they get into this new corporation, and they talk about the triple bottom line, right? That's the new kind of statement: people, planet, profit.
Yeah.
But even inside of that, their still number one fiduciary responsibility is not to people, it's not the planet, it's to shareholder, it's to profit.
Right.
So everything that these companies are saying, it's still a bunch of hot air, because their ultimate responsibility is to profit. And if they don't get it, they're in trouble.
It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And I liked the idea of, there's a Native American tribe, and they wanted to operate on the principle that, not just for next generation, but for 7 generations in the future, are these actions we're taking sustainable? And, we can look out and see that these actions we're taking are not sustainable. And it's just such a simple, easy solution. And it's such a joy for those of us that have discovered it. It's just, hey, let's make the world beautiful. We get to do all this with delicious, nutritious beauty. It's so fun. So it's an invitation to everyone just to, let's get involved more with this adventure of just planting paradise everywhere. It really is. It's the way of love, the way of life.
Yeah. Well, hey man, thank you for joining us today. Thanks for sharing your experience and your passion, and for wearing your fruit on your sleeve.
Yeah. Likewise to you. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks for sharing the book. I've got it out.
All right.
People will be able to see it and connect. And
Yes.
We'll look forward to continuing the conversation and seeing how we can collaborate together.
That's great. Yeah, look forward to it, Matt. All right. Ciao,
Thanks
brother.
for your time, brother. Have an awesome day, okay?
Yes, likewise.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in today, everybody. We'll just play a quick ad from our sponsors and let you be on your merry way.
At Weston A. Price Foundation, we're dedicated to restoring nutrient-dense, farm-fresh foods to the human diet. We look to ancient food and health practices for clues on how to live our healthiest, most vibrant lives today. Join the mission and check out our exclusive membership details at westonaprice.org. As a member, you'll receive our quarterly journal on wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts, our annual shopping guide, monthly access to private Q&A sessions with experts, consultations on state laws, regulations, and policies, including food freedom legislation, and so much more. Weston A. Price Foundation. Let's return to wise traditional foods.
Hey, Jim Gale Show listeners, again, thank you for tuning in. We love having you here. We're so honored. And, you know, I want to give you a little bit of exciting news. We've decided to offer complimentary food forest strategy sessions with a certified permaculture designer. These are 30-minute sessions where you get to sit down with someone who can really help you with a strategy for your own property. It's a great chance for you to ask some questions and learn and just really to dig into what's possible. This is 30 minutes with someone who's certified, knows all about permaculture and what's possible using this incredible science and working with nature. So head over to foodforestabundance.com and schedule your 30-minute food forest strategy session today. Again, that's foodforestabundance.com. And remember, get yourself registered for that 30-minute strategy session. And for doing so, we're going to give you a $100 coupon as well. So get over there, have some fun, learn about what's possible for you and your own property, and let's get growing some food. Thanks again for tuning in to the Jim Gale Show. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing day. We'll see y'all again real soon.